Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Back 10 Prediction Show. I'm your host Kyle Amor, and this week I am joined by all-out regular and Leeds Rhinos legend Danny McGuire, and of course a man who is a legend well within his own rights in both codes of Rugby League and Rugby Union. It is Iestyn Harris. Guys, welcome along once again.
Thank you. Hi.
And what a week of Challenge Cup action it was last week. You fans at home, we asked you to take on the studio, the guest and the co-host, and Michael correctly guessed Wigan, so he collected his side a point. But Peter, he came up with all five. He got the exact scoreline of 32 points to 12 to Hull KR, so well done to Peter. And that means some big changes in our prediction show table. The fans, you now sit at top of the tree with 12 points, the co-host on 10, the guest on 9, and myself sat at the bottom of the ladder on 8. So, yeah, a bit of a big swing there. Look, we tell you guys each and every week to like, hit the notification bell and subscribe. Our subscriptions really do help us drive all our shows and everything else from All Out Rugby League, so we can just keep bringing you more and more shows that we know you love. So don't forget to do that as well. Of course, it is the prediction show, so we will go into the game of the week where we'll ask you guys at home once again to give you your predictions. Our team will pick out a fan to compete against Iestyn, Magsy, and of course myself. And yeah, while you're in there, don't forget to hit the hype button. Sorry. You can do that up to 3 times a week. As always, we'll run through the set of 6. So, guys, 1 minute on each game before we go into the game of the week. Of course, round 11 returns, and we'll kick it all off on Thursday night. Huddersfield against St Helens. Iestyn, which way does this one go?
Do you know, I think it's a really tricky one for Saints, this, coming off a bad loss, shorter turnaround. Huddersfield, new coach. I think it would be a little bit tighter than what perhaps people think, but I'll go for a Huddersfield win. And I will go 16-12.
16-12 Huddersfield.
Yeah, and I agree with a lot of what Iestyn said then. I think Huddersfield will have prepped really well, and the bounce back with the new coach coming in. Obviously, Saints on the back of a disappointing performance, but I think Saints will just have a bit too much. I think they'll win.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, Magsy. I think St Helens will win this game. And bounce back really from a heavy Challenge Cup semi-final defeat. So I'm going to go for St Helens, Iestyn for Huddersfield, and Magsy for St Helens too. Wakey Catalan, Magsy.
And Catalan are really hard to predict, aren't they? I think they really struggle away from home. You know, I'd pick them a fair bit when they're playing at home, but I feel Wakey will win. I think Wakey are playing some good stuff. You know, they've been a little bit inconsistent at times, but I fancy Wakefield to win.
Do you think Wakefield perhaps needed the rest given their start to the season that week that's just gone by? Do you think that will do them a world of good for this?
Yeah, look, you know, I think they've got a really strong squad, haven't they? And they've got some super talent in there. You know, they're probably not ready for that consistent 30-game season, are they? So they just do the rest periods. But yeah, I don't see anything other than a Wakefield win.
I think I'm going to complete that myself with a Wakefield win as well. I just think Catalan, it's just the same old with them, isn't it? It's the inconsistency. You just do not know what you're going to get, I suppose. But they've got some quality in there as well, haven't they? They've got some decent players in amongst them.
Yeah, they've got some strike. They've got a lot of, much younger tide this year, isn't it, than what they've perhaps gone over the last several years. So, you know, they'll have some energy about them.
Got some good young French players as well, which is always good for Catalans. It's not been the case over the years, but it's nice to see that happening.
So Wakefield across the board there. Right, next one. Battle of the basement clubs, I suppose. York against Castleford. York, do you know what? I've actually not, I like watching York. I have, you know, because they just don't go away. They never, look, the quality's obviously not there as such, but again, they've got some, I really like Nofaluma. I think he's going to, you know, they'll be lucky to hang on to him, I think, but they're never out, are they? They're never out of a contest.
No, and I think Paul Vaughan's massive for them,
yes,
isn't he?
Yes.
You know, he's been around, he's been there and done it, and you know, he's leading from the front for them. Even at his age, he's super for them. So, you know, I think they're very, very difficult at home. I think teams go there and undersell themselves and sort of get caught napping a little bit. So, you know, I think York will probably be too strong for this one.
And Magsy, the news of Damien Cook, is that Castleford is that a big shot to the players that changes are coming?
It's a good signing. Obviously, he's at the back end of a glittering career. He's got speed out of dummy half, which I think is really crucial in the game today. Is it going to be enough enough good news for Cass to get the win. I'm not sure. I'm probably leaning more towards York.
I'm going to go York as well. So we'll move on. Toulouse v Warrington. I mean, you would say, wouldn't you, Warrington straight away? But you just wonder how much a Challenge Cup semi-final exit maybe could it derail them? I'm not saying they're going to lose in France, but they would have really fancied themselves getting back to Wembley, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I think they'll be disappointed. Obviously, losing a semi-final, it's probably the worst stage to lose at as well. It drags you do kick your heels for a little bit longer. Obviously, just missing out on that opportunity to play in the showpiece event. Toulouse have been gritty, haven't they? They've had a real dig this year. They were written off at the start of the season, but obviously they went to Hull. A couple of weeks back and got the win, and it won't be easy for Warrington, but I think they'll bounce back and win.
Yes, we've got 5 seconds.
Yeah, high energy to lose, but I just think Warrington will be too strong.
Right, okay, and then moving on to Lee and Hull KR. That's probably the pick out of these set of 6. I would say Lee and Hull KR.
Yeah, look, I think Lee at home. Very, very good. They've got that wicked left edge, and they score points with. Hull KR, for all that they're exceptionally good side, coming off a win in a semi-final sometimes harder than coming off a loss, isn't it? I think Lee will be very, very strong and very hard to beat at home.
And I think, given what happened at Hull KR at the start of the year, that was a massive emotional sort of, we are 100% back and in a Challenge Cup final, isn't it? I mean, the players could be maybe, I won't say forgiven because I don't think Willie Peters will accept it.
Definitely didn't forgive him, will they?
No.
For the Vegas performance anyway. But I think Hull KR are just in rhythm, aren't they? They look good. They look slick. They've got all the players on board, and I fancy them to go to Lee and win.
Yeah, I do myself. So I will back Hull KR. Last game of the set of 6, Bradford against Hull FC. 2 sides that have been on the wrong end of the injury list, I think.
Yeah, you just don't know with Hull, do you? You just don't know what you're going to get at the moment. They can be great or they can be totally off. I think Bradford under Kurt Haggerty are playing a really good style of rugby, aren't they? At home, they're going to be tough to beat, but Hull have just got some qualities. We've got a result in them. They've had a bad result the last game, so I'll probably take Hull. I
just think as a player, if you're going to be in one of them 2 camps, you're going to be happier in Bradford's, aren't you? It just seems that they've had injuries, but there's just seen a lot of unrest at Hull FC. Yeah,
I mean, there's probably no pressure on Bradford. I think Hull's a club that
demands.
When you play professional sport, you're under pressure all the time. Of course you are, but Hull, there's a fair amount of pressure there to perform, and they're not quite getting it right. And I think Bradford have done well this year, and I fancy him to win.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a home win as well. I'm going to go for Bradford. Which, of course, leads us nicely into the game of the week, guys. Remember, we want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your team, the margin, and the exact scoreline. Remember, you get a point for the correct team, 3 points for the correct margin, and 5 points for the correct scoreline, just like Peter did this week with that excellent prediction of 32 points to 12 for Hull KR. Guys, I'll come to you then. We've got a couple of more minutes on this. So, Wigan against Leeds. Magsy, Leeds week off. Let players all knock hell out of each other, and obviously they would have loved to have been in that position to be in a semi-final, but they weren't. Yeah. Of course, Wakefield knocking them out earlier on in the season. Will their week off then really benefit Leeds?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think if you use it wisely, which I know they did, they trained and they worked on a few areas that they probably felt like they needed to work on, that they weren't quite getting right. I think sometimes it's hard because obviously you get into rhythm playing week on week. I used to hate having a week off because it used to take me a little bit of time to get back up to speed, and I like to be in a rhythm. I like to play, and so I think that can take you a little bit of time to get up to speed. And I think we're going to start really fast at home on Friday. So I think it's a tough game to call. I really do. I think Wigan finding the straps a little bit at the weekend and playing better and having some of the key personnel back makes them pretty formidable. But I fancy Leeds to finish top this year, and I said it in one of the early shows, and obviously not the distraction of the Challenge Cup out of the way. I think Leeds are going to finish top, and it'd be a massive statement for them to go to Wigan and win, which obviously it's not going to be surprising, but I think they will.
Well, I think it's been a long, long time since Leeds had sat at the top of the Super League. I think it might have been 8 years or something. I remember hearing or seeing. But yes, in a word on Leeds, it's took Brad Arthur a couple of seasons, hasn't it, to get his team or put his real stamp on his team and build that roster. How impressed have you been with them?
Yeah, I think defensively they're very strong, and I think that's really important because, you know, attack-wise, when you got players like Jake Connor and Lucky Miller there, they're going to create opportunities and they're going to create strike, but you've got to have that resilient defence, and they've probably built that over the last 2 years, haven't they? So, you know, when Danny says they could finish top there, I think it'll be built on that defensive side of things. You know, I do feel as though they've got the ability to finish top, and I think they are in a rhythm and they're playing very well. But Wigan at Wigan, it's a tough game, and historically Leeds have always struggled with that. I'll probably take a Wigan win.
And we mentioned on the Back 10 show earlier in the week around Josh Charnley chasing down Ryan Hall for a number of tries of all time in Super League. But Mike Acevo, he's already on 17, I think. I think Denny Solomon was the most in a season with 40. Could the big fella catch him?
I think he could, yeah. I think he could. He's an absolute beast. And I think the thing with Micah as well is he's probably only half fit. He's coming on the back of a serious knee injury, and I think he were always going to take a little bit of time to get up to speed. And, you know, he got up to speed fairly quick, let's be honest. But, you know, I think Ash Hanley is playing out of his skin.
I just want to say you've got to give Ash some credit. Half of his tries he's put down, hasn't he? It's like Ash has been so.
Well, that's his job, right? At the end of the day, he's got to be there, hasn't he? But yeah, I do agree.
Ash has been, you know, I played with Ash and I watch his career closely. He's a great kid, and I always felt he had a bit more ability than playing wing. He obviously came through as a winger, and I felt he'd always.
He's a centre,
I always felt he'd play centre, full back, because he's got a lot of ability, and he's showing it now. He's showing that, you know, he's got more strings to his bow, and his leadership qualities are developing as well, and, you know, he's putting a lot of Sevo's tries on the plate for him.
They've just got loads of a threat, haven't they, all across the park, Leeds, haven't they? And you know when they click into gear that it's going to be very, very difficult to stop. And that's what Brad Arthur will hope and need over at Wigan. Iestyn's already mentioned it there. Playing Wigan at Wigan, as we all know, is an incredibly difficult place to play. And obviously Wigan, look, they must be, the playing group must now believe that the worst performances are behind them. Does playing them off the back of that big win make it really more difficult now?
I think so. I think on the back of a performance like that, there'll be such a feel-good factor going into this week.
That's what I was alluding to.
And I feel like, you know, the season's so long and Wigan have been so consistent for a number of years. Yeah. They're going to have a slump somewhere. It's inevitable that you can't maintain that level of performance every week. And, you know, they had probably a month period there where it wasn't Wigan-like, and the performance at the weekend was a lot more Wigan-like. And you know, I think it's going to be a really close game. I think 4 points. You know, I could see it going either way. You know, 4 to 6 points. But I'm gonna tip Leeds 16-10.
16-10.
Yeah.
Danny McGuire, Leeds Rhinos win Wigan at Wigan 16-10. Iestyn, give us your score.
Yeah, look, I just think Wigan, they've got real balance about them again. I think it'll be very tight. I'll go Wigan 14-8.
14-8.
Yeah, I think it'll be a low score.
I'm going to go Wigan as well. I think that playing group will just be chomping at the bit now. I think that will be a huge win for them. What was just gone, and I think they start to put it together now. I can't see them then, you know, winning that and then falling away. I think they'll win this game 22 points to 18. I'm going to go. So again, another close one. 4 point margin. Was yours 4 as well?
Mine was 6. Iestyn's was 6.
Yeah.
Well, there you are then. One try. That's what we all think. But then again, what do I know? I'm sat at the bottom of that prediction table. So, listen, guys, thanks very much. Don't forget to put your comments in there. We will, of course, pick out one of you at home to go up against myself, Iestyn Harris, and Danny McGuire, and see where that takes us. Guys, don't forget, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you keep on getting notified about all our content here at Back 10 Predictions, Back 10 earlier on in the week, and of course everything else that falls out of the All Out studio as well. Enjoy round 11, take care, and bye bye for now.